The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome back to Am I Mental, a weekly live podcast where real people share real stories about living lives with mental health issues and things that impact their mental health. I am your host, E. With us, as always, is the co-host, Bexy.
Hello, everyone.
And today, we have something special. We are actually going to be talking about some things that, we've addressed before, but we also have some new things coming in, too. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. The pre-show went really well. This person is absolutely amazing. You guys are going to love them. I guarantee it. And you know I don't like giving out guarantees. But before we get started, hey, somebody bought some stuff off of our the Teespring store. So yeah, thanks for your support. Appreciate it. If you also want to help us out, the best way to do that, share episodes, especially ones that you think will resonate with people that you're sharing them to, or ones that really resonate with you, and you can maybe explain it to those people that can help out with it all. To help them understand why it's so important to you. On top of that, if you want to do any additional help to help the show grow, help us pay for hosting, the website, stuff like that, go to mimental.net/donate. There's a number of ways to do it. Plus, there is the Teespring store. You can get yourself like a t-shirt or a hoodie, a tote bag, stickers, mask. And if there's anything that you'd like, just email me at e@mimental.net, and I'll go ahead and make something up for you guys. Without further ado, we have our guest, C. Why don't you say hello and tell us a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight.
Hello. We will be talking about my struggle with MDD, anxiety, hallucinations, and self-harm, as well as some things that made me the person I am today growing up. But yeah.
Yeah, I will say you are our youngest guest. Don't let that intimidate you, at all. Because, seriously, the things that you're talking about, totally relatable. And I'm sure that there's going to be quite a few people that are your words are going to resonate with.
I hope so. I hope so.
So, you're still a teenager. And, why don't you tell us a little bit about, let's just dive in.
Okay, so the anxiety started much, much earlier than the depression or anything else. It started when I was 5, and it progressed till now. The depression, the MDD, it developed when I was 12. I wasn't even out of 6th grade yet. And the first symptoms were mental fog. It starts with the word starts with an A, but I just call it mental fog and forgetfulness. I remember there was a math test, and usually I could remember math A-okay. I'd be perfectly fine, but I couldn't remember anything, and the more I tried to think about it, nothing came to mind, and I was panicking, being like, oh shit, I'm going to fail. I'm not going to make it into middle school, but I did. That summer, the best way I can say it is it progressed to a level that I never want to go back to ever again. Every day was extremely painful. Suicide was on my mind every day. I had to physically hold myself back from jumping in front of cars, from sneaking away to the nearby train tracks that we live near, from downing pill bottle after pill bottle after pill bottle, or hanging myself. I could see myself doing it in the most gruesome way, and at the time, I didn't really care if it affected anyone because I was in so much pain. It never ended. The only break I ever got was either homework, video games, or sleep.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it.
I when I started realizing I was depressed, I was having suicidal thoughts in second grade. I know I didn't share that before, but yeah, I wanted to let you know that you're not alone in getting seriously depressed. And I was the same way with the gruesomeness. You know, I didn't care. I just wanted it done. I was in a situation I felt I had no escape, and that was my one escape. Fortunately, I didn't do it. Fortunately, you haven't done it.
Yeah.
One of the coolest little sayings that one of my uncles told me, and I miss him so much, but he always told me that suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problems.
I heard that one a lot too.
And I mean, it's true. Eventually, things do get better with, therapy and time,
Yeah.
patience, practicing how to cope and all that. You'll get there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, no promise that it goes away, but it becomes manageable.
I mean, what's really interesting is when you describe that feeling of just wanting to step in front of a car or a train or something like that. I mean, that is an actual phenomenon that a lot of people experience. And I've talked about it before. In French, it's called l'appel du vide, the call of the void.
Yeah.
And it happens to way more people than you think it does.
I planned on hanging myself over railroad tracks so the engine would hit me. I planned on laying down with my neck on the rail. I was driving and I planned on just swerving into every pillar, every overpass on the freeway. So yeah. Shit sucks. It really does. I can laugh about it now. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. But anyway, already we have DeVern in the chat saying that you're relatable at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the rough times for me when it was the worst.
Yeah, and I think the worst part was my mom. She had asked me way before the symptoms started to get worse, because I had isolated myself. I completely just stayed in my room, barely left unless I really needed to. And she asked me, "Hey, C, are you depressed?" I was like, "No, I don't think so." Obviously, I was wrong.
Right.
And I look back at that now. It really did take a toll on me, though. Every day was like a fight with my mind. And a lot of the time I felt like I was losing. I felt like there really was no escape. And so I did open up about the suicidal thought. It wasn't until like a year or so after. And at first, I was hospitalized for the first time. And my mom was very just, I remember she didn't really understand. She didn't want to accept that there was something wrong with me. And so she was like, "No, you don't have a mental illness. You're fine, Obviously, seeing your child going through that, you're going to be like,
Been there, done that. Sat in the emergency room.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I get your mom's perspective there.
Yeah, it took like 9 hours before I actually went to the hospital. And I went there. It was literally about 10 minutes away from the hospital that I was at. And I stayed there for 4 days. It didn't help at all. There was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of fights breaking out. And I'm not one to like screaming or yelling or loud noises. So it really triggered a lot of the depression, anxiety. They ended up just letting me go because the homesickness was just so great. But before they did that, my mom waited and she told me that my dad had a stroke, literally the day that I was leaving the hospital.
Ooh, wow.
And yeah, for a while I blamed myself, but looking back, growing up, he was a workaholic. My dad, he did whatever he could to provide for us. He was a great father. He didn't really do many things with me, and I don't really have much of a bond with him. But he did it for us, the kids, for me to grow up, to have a roof over our head, have food, you know, a loving, caring family. My mom was an apartment manager. She was very stressed because it would bother her after hours. They would, the kids wouldn't listen. They would ride their bikes to the halls, whatever. And when Dad would come home, he would, it'd be like a 12, 13-hour shift. He would wake up at like 3 and then come back home 4, 5, 6. And he would just kind of drink and drink and drink and walk around the apartment building, but mostly drink. And if you talk to him, he would really not notice that you said anything. So you would be like, Dad, okay, I'm going out here, whatever. But they would get into fights a lot, not physical ones, just usually verbal ones, about the apartment building and how it stressed them out so much. And they would just argue and scream at each other. And it'd be like, I would be ushered away by my older siblings, and I just wanted to scream at them. Just stop. Just stop. Stop yelling at each other. Just stop. But I never did. And I've grown to usually keep things to myself because of that. I don't really tell anyone if something bothers me. But yeah, he would just kind of drink a lot. He did some things with me, like if we went out camping, he would take us on a ride of his golf cart, or we would go fishing. But there wasn't much that he really did with me. To be honest, I would say I'm much closer to my mother, which also turned into a problem because when I was younger, I'd get major anxiety from leaving her side. Yeah. So much so that I got grounded.
Wow.
And I know I would freak out every time I went to school, and I would just bawl and cry, and I had to be sent to the principal's office so the principal could calm me down. And I ended up getting grounded, and I learned not to do that ever again.
Probably all, oh no, I'm grounded. I have to stay under your watchful eye.
Like, I just had to stay in their room, and I remember Dad let me watch TV, and my mom was like, why is the TV on? I'm like, Dad, let me. Dad, let me.
Yeah. I would get grounded, and I would bide my time. Like, I would just lay on the floor, throwing a baseball in the air and catching it over and over again for like the first couple days. Then I would hang out near the hallway, and then I would start hanging out. I would take more and more trips out to the kitchen to get stuff, and do it more and more slowly, and start stopping in the living room. By the end of 2 weeks, I was back out doing my regular stuff, even though I was grounded for a month. It was just that gradual, just, kind of like, when you're trying to get a horse to trust you, just slowly approaching, slowly doing more each time until you finally get your way.
Yeah.
So, Dad,
when I was grounded,
so Dad, if you're listening, yeah, I really did that multiple times.
I was such an introvert when I was grounded. It wasn't really like punishment. It was like, oh, you mean I get to stay in my room with my books? Okay.
Yeah, I had to ground my kids from reading because that was the only thing I could take away from them. They read so much, and I was just like, okay, I gotta ground you guys. I'm taking your books. And then they're like, oh yeah, wait till I tell my friends and my teachers that you grounded me from reading. I'm like, they know how much you read, and trust me, they'll understand.
May says, #working the system.
Yeah, and Kat went ahead and placed an order. Woohoo!
Yay!
Yeah, that's actually one of the goals of this, is that I would like us to have enough of an income where, like, I could send a T-shirt or a mask or something to every guest, as a thank you for coming on the show. We're not there yet, but that's a goal.
I'm sure you guys can do it.
Javern says, "See, I feel you about confrontation. It bothers me, and if I'm around it, it never makes anything better."
Exactly. It just kind of makes things worse. So I've grown to be very much a people pleaser. I'm more of an introvert. I don't usually like being around people. It drains me very quickly. I get very irritated, whatever. But, oh my God. Hold on. Where was I going with this? What was I saying? I'm sorry.
We're talking about confrontation.
Oh, yeah. That. I'm very much a people pleaser, even though I don't really like people. No matter what, I'm very much determined to make sure people are not upset with me or disappointed in me. I've got plenty of secrets that come at the cost of stressing myself out and being paranoid over something. I don't really want to get much into that, but
that's fine.
Yes, I became very much didn't want anyone to be disappointed in me, and if they were, I deserved any punishment I got. I was the funny thing is, my parents weren't very pushy on me with school or any of that. They just wanted me to try my best. But it was me who challenged myself, who would push myself to try to be this perfect child that I could not be. I wanted to be my parents' good child. I didn't want to make any mistakes. I didn't want to upset them, make them disappointed in me. And I know that's pretty much impossible to do, but it's just something I do. It's something that's not easy to make go away, especially after doing it the majority of your life.
Right.
But it's definitely made me not be able to stick up for myself, or if I want to say something, I just stay quiet. It's what I'm used to. It's just what I do, and I know it's not good, but it's what I do.
Like I told you during the pre-show, I want you to be like, it's social media. I want to follow you. You follow me. I want to help you with that. I really do. I think that it would be very beneficial to you, as you need to take care of you. And when you're doing all that stuff, it's borderline altruism. And even though like the modern society always talks about how good altruism is and that it's great to make sure you take care of everybody else, it slowly kills you. It is, in my mind, the slowest method of suicide out there.
It truly is.
You can't take care of anybody else if you can't take care of yourself. You got to come first.
That's true, and that's something I struggle with, because I usually just put everyone in front of me because I feel like I don't deserve it. That comes with the depression and the anxiety, the normal stuff. But I just feel like I don't deserve it. And this is going to be pretty chaotic because a lot of these things were happening at the exact time. Like with the depression and the hallucinations and things like that. They kind of happen at the same exact time. But
It's okay.
Oh, goodness.
May just dropped a bomb.
Yeah, she did. She just said, you can never promise yourself that someone isn't going to feel a way about you. You have no control over anyone else's feelings. You can only hold yourself accountable for how you treat them. And that's a hard lesson to learn. It's one that took me a long time, I'll admit, to learn myself. I will agree with E about altruism being about the slowest form of suicide that there is, because it's ultimately what almost did me in.
And it's not like you don't care about others. It's just that you
Right.
got to care for yourself too.
Right.
There's a pretty good book out there, The Virtue of Selfishness. It's
Yes.
basically all about this. It's all about it's not really anti-altruism. It's about not overextending yourself, taking care of yourself, making sure that you are capable of being able to help others while not sacrificing your own health.
Yes.
Right.
It's actually a very good read. And I'm dropping a link for it on in the chat right now.
Yeah, and also after the show, if you wanted to check out, you can bring up the chat afterwards. All the links are in there still.
Okay.
Wow, 50th anniversary edition. So that's how old the book is.
Yes.
It's an older book, but it's fantastic.
I'll see if I can give it a read. I can't promise anything though, because I fell out of reading a long time ago.
Yeah, with my busy schedule, with my kids and work and everything, I can only do audiobooks now.
You know, the great thing is that if you're not big on reading, a lot of these books have been, you can look up on YouTube and people will read them to you.
Oh, okay, I can do that.
Be all
So
back in grade school again, all, yay, it's story time.
Yes.
So, God, I wish I would have got some sleep last night. I just couldn't sleep for some reason. It happens when I have insomnia. It is more likely to happen on a Wednesday for some damned reason. I hate it. So I'll come into the podcast like all half asleep. But yeah, you were talking about how things started progressing, through school. And there was that one thing we haven't said yet that wound up being something that I was able to relate to a lot more than I thought I would be able to, and I think Bexy too. And I'm thinking that we're going to get that from the listeners as well.
We'll be hopping on that real soon because it happened at the same exact time as depression.
All right.
But more about the depression. Again, it really fucked me up because, like I said, there was no break except for sleep and homework and stuff like that. So every day was either numbness or complete and utter misery. And it really took control of my life. I was able to maintain my grades. I was able to get out of bed, but everything else I really suffered in. Talking to people, I kept it to myself, and the only reason it really came out was because this was before my first hospitalization. I went to a teacher. A teacher had passed, and I was having a really bad day, and I just wanted to talk to someone, so I did. And they were debating 5150-ing me, and my mom came over and gave me a pill to calm me down, and she told me that she scared me. I don't think she really meant to do it, but she would tell me, it'll take you away, you'll be in the state care, it'll take you away from me, and it scared me.
Yeah, thanks, Mom, as if I didn't have enough anxiety.
Exactly.
No.
It's like, I love you, but you totally don't get it.
Exactly. And around this time, I started seeing things. These also messed me up really badly. Some I could tell very easily that they were fake, like a hopping bunny man or an alligator underneath my mom's bed. I could logic those out and be like, there's no alligators around us. How the hell is an alligator supposed to get underneath my mom's bed?
Right.
But then there's these other ones that either made me feel really distressed or like my life was threatened. One of these was a girl. I think she was about 14 years old. She was in a hospital gown, and I was on a walk because what I would do if I was stressed out is I would go for walks, and I would listen to my music, and I would calm down. And for some reason, I just felt like something was watching me, and I had to turn around. And so I did, and that's when I saw her. She was in a hospital gown. She was walking at snail's pace, just slowly inching toward me. And I don't exactly know why, but fight or flight kicked in really fast. For some reason, I just felt like my life was in danger, and if she came near me, she was going to kill me. So I ran, and I ran as fast as I could. And I looked behind me, and she was right behind me. So I ran even faster until I ran into our apartment building, and I didn't want to tell anyone, and I didn't want to make a scene. So right before I went inside, I took a couple deep breaths, but Mom could tell something was wrong, and I told her, hey, I saw a lady. Obviously, you know, it's, I don't know, but she really scared me. And then there was this other one.
And the way that you described her during the pre-show, it was like The Grudge, but in black.
Yes, that one's misty. Yes.
Oh, no, that's the one that's coming up.
Yes, that's the one that stays with me consistently. Most of the time, the hallucinations were super random, right? It could be something as small as a shadow or a cloud in my peripheral vision, or straight up seeing something right in front of me.
I always saw faces peeking around corners, and they weren't human faces. And every time I go to look, they were gone. Man, I tell you, there were a few times that I sprinted home because they kept popping around every corner.
It can be very distressing. I would walk around in the hallways of our apartment building, and I would see the same exact thing, except it was a faceless woman, and she loved to just peek at the very bottom and watch me there. And when I got closer, she would stop watching me, and she would go away until I rounded a corner, and I looked back, and she'd be watching me again. I saw one.
I'm guessing that you probably felt a rising terror as you came to the corner and couldn't explain exactly why you were doing it.
Yes.
Nope, never done that. Never felt that.
Yes, it was very nerve-wracking trying to go close to them. Most of the time, I just kind of avoided them. Like I said, they could be very random. One time at school, I was in history, and I saw a shadowy caterpillar crawling up the wall. Except it wasn't crawling up the wall; it was staying in one place. Yet it was moving like it was crawling. And I just kind of looked at it, and I would look back down at my paper, and I looked back up at it, like, okay, so I actually am seeing a caterpillar. And I kept on just looking back at my paper and looking back at it. And then the bell rang and I left. In one of my classrooms, English, they had these ventilations, and sometimes I would feel like someone was watching me from them. So I would look up, and I saw these white, super pale faces with just, it kind of reminded me of like a mask. You know, one of those opera masks with the frowny faces,
oh, yeah,
happy faces. yeah, it was like that. And they would just watch me. Unnervingly in class, just watch me. And I didn't like that, obviously. It got so bad that at one point I left class to use the restroom, and I was trying to talk to them through the vent inside there. And obviously, I got no reply, but I would still see them, and even now, I'm still very wary of them.
I don't think you're as alone in that as you think, because May just said, C is describing my repetitive dreams from childhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, she just said, I can only imagine the terror she felt in her waking life. Yeah, so you had her nightmares, but you were awake. So, yeah.
Oh.
That's a terrifying thing to have to go through.
Yeah.
It really was, but I found some comfort the first time I was hospitalized. I had some bad experiences with doctors. The whole reason why I wound up getting hospitalized in the first place because they gave me some antidepressants that just made things worse. But I found some comfort in this other girl who would say that she saw someone like Misty, and I'll get more into Misty soon, but she saw someone like Misty. I was like, really? And we just talked about that, and it felt nice because I didn't feel alone. So it's nice kind of knowing in a way that someone, even if it was in their dreams, went through that. It's terrifying. For example, with Misty, she's the one that stayed with me the longest. Oh, go on.
Oh, no, that was an echo.
Oh.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that the echoes that you're hearing sometimes, because it shows me like where it lights up, and it's coming from Bexy when there's a big echo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
We need to get you some headphones, girl.
Yeah.
So anyway, Misty.
Misty, so I had a cat at the time. I'll go more into these later. I'm sorry, I'm jumping from topic to topic, but it's just what I do.
Right, but then it all ties together nicely in the end.
Yes, it's all connected in a way. But I would leave my door open for the cat, just cracked a little bit because I was scared of the dark, more specifically the things in the dark. But I would leave it cracked open a little bit, and that's when I first started seeing her. And she would just watch me from my doorway. Sometimes, let me describe how she looked first before I even go into this. She looked, at least, like an adult. She had very pale skin, very long black hair that blended into the darkness, a very long dress that went down to her ankles, again, blended in with the darkness. And for hands, she had these long, jagged black claws. She was the only hallucination that I ever had that was a person that had a face. And I remember distinctly that she had these dull, dead-looking eyes. There was no light in them, and they made me feel, I said this before, like I was threatened, like she would hurt me. And so what I started to do in order to avoid seeing her was I would cover my face and I would hide from her. And this continued from the place where we used to live to here, where I live now. The thing that really scared me the most about her was she usually didn't come alone. She came with some other hallucinations. The one that scared me the most was I remember looking, and I remember seeing her again, peeking into the door. She curled her claws around the door, and as she was doing that, there was these little tiny fingers that reminded me of little toddler fingers. And all up and down the cracked door, they just kept on poking in and out, like they were playing some sort of game. And I kind of watched. I would look away to be like, okay, maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. Maybe I'm just staring at it too long and my eyes are playing tricks on me. But I would look away and she'd still be there. The little fingers were still there, and there was a laughing skull with her that night as well. I didn't hear it laughing, but it was just laughing. It was just there, kind of, in a way, I think it was mocking me for being scared, just laughing at my fear. But yeah, she was a very consistent one. And the whole reason why I called her Misty was because she was mysterious. She was the lady that followed me everywhere. And she wouldn't only be at my door. Sometimes she would follow me, specifically behind me. And I would only see her a couple times, but I knew she was there. I could feel her there. Even if I couldn't see her, I could feel her. And she would just watch me. I had this feeling of being watched, like I was being stalked. And every time I would see just a glimpse of her, I'd be like, okay, she's following me. I've just gotta deal with it and maybe just try to ignore her. And after a bit, she did stop being as scary as she was. She became a normal sight. Not a very comforting one, but just a normal sight for me. Seeing her, be like, oh yeah, Misty's back. Okay, she's here with me. One time, and this scared me the most, I had my back pressed against the wall because I was afraid of things being behind me. And I had a mirror, like, exactly across from where I was. And I looked in it, and I saw her face right behind me, peeking over my shoulder. And I knew it was her because she had those dead eyes. And she just stared at me with them. And they had the most hateful look in them. And I was so afraid that I was paralyzed. I didn't want to leave the bedroom. I didn't even want to go and touch the floor. I just cowered and hid, and she went away. But she would torment me in a way. She didn't go away until I started taking medicine for the hallucination. Her and this other one, there was, I call him Ethan. He's very tall. He's not a threatening one. At least I don't feel threatened whenever I did see him. He would just, like the others, watch me. He was a tall, kind of looked like he was crudely drawn, like a kid's drawing of like a stick figure, and it's all super jagged looking. He was like that. He was about, I don't know, maybe 6 feet tall, so a lot taller than me. And he would look very jagged, and he would just watch me. He would like peek around corners, and I would see him because unlike the lady that would watch me from the bottom, I could see most of his body peeking out from behind the wall watching me. And I would see him, and I wasn't really afraid of him. I didn't really feel threatened. He wasn't as normal as Misty was, but he was also a pretty common sight. He ended up going away with medication. There's these ones scared me too. Faceless ladies. Some of them crawled on the floor, which I hated. I hated very, very much. And I remember I was looking at glass, and I was looking at my reflection, and I looked at the floor. There was nothing there, but in the glass there was a faceless lady crouched down on all fours, like on her feet and her hands, and she didn't have a face, but she was looking at me. And like totally same person, I ran away. I ran away. She scared me enough to make me feel threatened, and I ran. There was
May just said that crawling is the worst. I have to agree.
Oh yeah.
Like any horror film,
definitely.
it's like a lot of the horror films. I'm like, okay, some of the stuff's kind of creepy. Then they show someone crawling, and I'm just like, nope, nope.
Exactly.
The one that freaked me out the most was the crab walk on the ceiling, but the head was rotated 180 degrees to be the right angle. Nope, nope, no.
You know the one that got me the worst was I got a director's cut of The Exorcist. And there's a scene where Linda Blair is like upside down crab walking down the stairs.
Yeah, nope.
I like that.
No, creepy.
Like yeah, crawling things are not my forte. Like
hard nope, says May.
Exactly. I've gotten so afraid from the faceless crawling lady that I absolutely refuse to leave my bed unless it was necessary. I absolutely hated having to get up and feeling like she would grab my ankle from underneath the bed or something like that.
It's the worst.
Yeah, there's the chat is just lighting up with people freaking out about crawling and climbing downstairs upside down, stuff like that.
I hate it. I hate it.
I mean, and on The Grudge, the way that jagged moving with the
that noise, creepy.
So my son, he was trying to be brave because he had just watched The Grudge, and he was trying to tell me that he couldn't get scared. So I stayed outside his bedroom doors doing the and he's like, ha ha, very funny, Dad. And opened the door, and I come in all herky-jerky towards him. Oh my god, he boom back against the wall, screaming. Oh, I can't be scared, Dad. What's wrong, Dad? Looking back on it, yeah, he still deserved it. He was 13. He freaking deserved it.
But I would be terrified too. I don't like anything that crawls like that.
Hey, you had the super cool armored spider hallucinations.
I do.
I want an armored spider in real life. Like, I really want one. Ride around on that thing like a tank. Plus, I could go up buildings and stuff.
The armored spiders.
I don't know. I love creepy things. LOL.
You know, and Tommy said Baby and Train Spotting. I haven't seen Train Spotting. Oh, Shane, he is not scarred for life from me doing that. He laughs about it now. He can't wait to do it to his daughter when she's old enough.
I love that. But, another one was the spider lady with the armored spiders. She was on the wall, and she had like a half human, half spider body. So like her torso was a woman, but everything else like down was a spider. And I felt threatened by her.
Are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons at all?
I've heard of it, yes.
All right, because there's a realm called not Ravenloft. It's Forgotten Realms, and they have the Drow, which are dark elves that live in the Underdark. Like, they never come into light. And they have what are called Dritters. They are half human, or they're half elf, half spider. Elf torso and head and arms, spider abdomen and legs.
Wow.
Yeah. So like when you're describing that, I'm just thinking it's a drider. It's a drider. It's a drider.
Cat says,
Spider.
ugh, the spiders. Shudders.
But the spiders seemed controlled by her, and they were really large, like the size of a basketball almost. I would say that would be the largest ones, and they were super slow, hella slow. And they were coming toward me in their slow manner, and they were heavily armored too. I remember seeing black plates on them, and I got the hell out of there as fast as I could. And I closed my door, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going out there until the daylight comes. Not all of them were scary like that, but the majority have made me feel threatened in a way.
There was that one I told you about in the pre-show that I think might have been a waking dream. I don't know for sure. We had just moved into the house that I wound up spending most of my life in, like up until I moved out on my own. And my parents, only not too long ago, moved away from there. But my bed, like I said, it had 3 bedrooms and a hallway. My bedroom was at the end, on one end of the hallway. So, like, I had my bed set up to where I lay on my left side, I'm looking down the hallway. And at the end of the other end of the hallway, it was a dead end, and on the right was my sister's room, on my left was my parents' room. And in the middle, the left was the living room, the right was the bathroom. And between the bathroom and my room, there was a set of built-in cabinets and drawers for storage. And I mean, it was amazing how deep those things were. Like, you could hide bodies in there if you wanted to. But I remember my dad walking into the bedroom from the living room, and I wasn't thinking much of it. And then all of a sudden, he came running out of the bedroom, angry, sprinting right down the hallway towards me. And at the last moment, he turned to his left, which was my right, into the cabinet and the drawers. And as soon as the body hit that barrier, he burst into a shower of like paper, like a ream of paper that just got thrown in the air. And I remember I was screaming my head off, and then my dad comes out of the bedroom, walks towards me, asking if everything's okay. And my mom, of course, comes running in too. And they're walking through the paper. They don't see it. They don't feel it. And I couldn't put it into words. Like, how do you explain that you just watched your dad burst into papers, only to have your dad come back out of the same room again and walk through the same papers and not notice? Yeah, that will never go away. I was in first grade when that happened.
Wow. I would be shitting myself if that happened to me.
I don't know how I left my bed clean that day.
We have a couple of questions. May ask, questions for C. Do you dream, or do you remember your dreams? Do you have an issue with insomnia?
I don't remember my dreams at all, honestly. When I go to bed, it's nothing, really. If I do remember it, it's very, very, what's the word? Like, I can remember it briefly, but then it completely slips my mind. And like, okay, I had a dream, but what the hell was it about? Insomnia, it depends if I'm having a good day or a bad day. Bad days, yes, I could stay up for super long, just not being able to go to sleep, tossing and turning for hours, staying up all night because of it. But good days, I can sleep perfectly fine.
Oh, she also asked, if you do you have an issue with nightmares?
Nightmares? No. I haven't gotten a nightmare in years, actually.
I'm a little envious.
Me too.
I'm honestly surprised. I have no clue what's stopping it, but I'm not complaining.
Right? Yeah, no, I actually had a night terror about 3 weeks ago. And honestly, I can't remember any of it now. I just remember I woke up screaming, full-throated scream, and it scared the living hell out of my wife. Because, she just she noticed I was having a nightmare because I was, thrashing around and, very, very restless in my sleep. And she went to shake me gently, and that's when I woke up just screaming. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was laid there for a minute. I'm like, okay, that dream was really stupid. I don't even know why I was scared. And then I went back to sleep, and I woke up. I remember having woken up, but I don't remember anything about the night terror. Nothing at all. And when it happened, I still remembered for 24 hours. I remembered vaguely something about it, but now it's just it's gone.
Yeah.
May you never have night terrors.
I'm hoping I never do because they sound terrible. Absolutely terrible.
They are not fun.
I mean, maybe the blessing is that you don't get to remember them afterwards, but still.
Yeah.
Nightmares in general aren't fun. I've had a couple of really bad ones in the past couple of weeks, so.
I'll say that in general, I enjoy nightmares because it's like watching a horror film. But you're a little more engaged into it. As long as it's not one that's really personal. If it's just a weird, come from nowhere nightmare, cool. But if it's watching family members die, not cool. Not cool at all.
Yeah. The last one I had that freaked me out was the one where I watched myself get shot and die.
Wow.
And that was crazy. I was in this dream. I was walking through a field and I heard somebody calling for help. So I started to, look around and see if I could find this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find anything. And I heard a gunshot that, rang out and it hit me. I had, I didn't duck. I didn't do anything. It hit me and I fell to the ground and I busted my head on a rock and I was watching myself bleed out and die and I jerked awake. I had one of those really big hypnic jerks that's why I woke up and I was like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, a couple of people commented in there basically May said, I think waking life terrors sound more terrible. Cat saying C instead has waking nightmares. Seeing spider people isn't fun.
No, it's definitely not. Especially when you feel like they're going to attack you. And,
No.
Yes. And E is there with spiders are awesome. And honestly, I could see him with a basketball-sized armored spider sitting on his shoulder, and he's feeding it things and freaking people out because he keeps it as a pet.
He would love them, and unfortunately, I hate them.
Yeah, it's what's your pet's name? Bob. Why Bob? Why not?
Giant-ass armored spider. Yeah, his name is Steve. Why Steve? Oh, why not? I fed him a new named Steve. What else do you want from me?
I'll name him Carl.
You cute people.
Carl, why did you do that?
Critter.
Exactly. Carl, you can't go out and eat people's hands, but I'm hungry.
I had a rumbly in my tumbly. Could only be satisfied by toasted human hands.
Exactly. Carl.
If anybody hasn't seen Llamas with Hats, you gotta watch it. Don't watch all of them because the first few were extremely funny and the guy's like, I'm not making anymore, but he got pressured into making some, and the ones that he got pressured into making, they suck. But yeah, the first few are just side-splittingly hilarious. They're super dark though, super dark humor.
I love it though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love it.
Or of course, you can also have another one named Charlie.
This is my giant armored spider named Peppy. Oh.
Pepe?
Yes, Pepe. His name is Sparkle. Okay, my giant ass spider is named Sparkle. Okay. It's very scary pet, but it can't be scary if you name it Fluffy. Right?
Right? Well, it's like I always wanted to get a Doberman and like a miniature pinscher. Name the Doberman Muffin and name the miniature pinscher like Spike or Brutus or something like that. Killer.
Yes.
I have a friend who has a little Chihuahua that they named Atlas.
Aww.
But does he shrug?
That's actually why the dog is named Atlas? No.
Sweet! It's a book that we've read. It's called Atlas Shrugged. It's like 6 billion pages long. I mean, it's not that big, but I mean, it is huge. Like
It is a long book.
Like as an audiobook, it's over 60 hours, I think.
Oh my God.
Amazing story, though. But man, you really have to be dedicated to listen to it.
It says he's the king because he has a shoulder spider named Cow.
Yes. But yeah, the hallucinations were very complicated. Like I said, there was Misty who followed me around, Ethan who would just kind of watch me from afar. And this is one I don't really understand why it scared me so badly. It was just a disembodied arm.
I mean,
creepy.
that is just, I mean, Thing was at least a disembodied hand with a partial wrist a little bit after that, and was funny. But a disembodied arm, that just sounds scary.
Yeah, so I usually woke up pretty early because I like to spend time to myself, for school and stuff. Just sit on my phone. But I looked outside to our porch, and the lights were on from around the complex and everything, and there was just this random ass arm just sticking out. I looked, I couldn't see any body. It was just the arm, and it was just sticking out. And the shadows on the wall started moving like waves. And for some reason, I felt so afraid. I started to panic, so much so that I backed up against my couch and just sat there until it was over. Yeah, I don't really understand why that one made me freak out as badly as it did, because it wasn't like Misty or the spiders or the crawling women, But yeah, that happened as well. Like I said, the hallucinations were very random. The alligator, there was one. He was also, I can't say that he was evil, but he felt evil. Kind of like how Misty did at first. And,
until Misty outstayed her welcome and became just, oh, hey, you're watching me. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, okay, well, he's behind me right now. I guess I'm going to go for a walk.
You know what? I'm going to go ride bikes. Why not? Misty's just going to follow and not do shit anyway.
Exactly. He's going to be right on the back of the bike.
Meanwhile, Misty's giving you that just utmost hate because, like, why aren't you scared of me? Because you've become commonplace. I mean, your fault.
I've seen you so often, Misty. I'm not even scared of you anymore.
It's like, if you went away, I might actually miss you. No.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, totally.
Exactly. But yeah, no.
Exactly. But she was the very consistent one, and I don't No, but she was the one that scared me the most and the one that I got used to the most because I would just see her so often.
So
And
I have to ask, were there any audio components to these hallucinations? Like, could you hear anything?
yes, I was trying to go to sleep one night and I had the TV on because I like the background noise and I like the light. I don't like sleeping in pitch darkness. And I heard a sheep. It wasn't from the TV. It sounded like it was right outside my window, just going, eh. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, okay. It didn't really bother me. It was just like, okay.
Meanwhile, the next day in the newspaper, someone's like, but missing sheep in your neighborhood.
It's in my backyard.
Yeah. She's like, bah! Bah!
Oh shit, there really is a sheep. I heard. Oh, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say I used to get the little audio hallucinations of like just my name as a whisper, and sometimes it'd be kind of loud too, just be like all of a sudden just, except with my actual name, and I'd be like, look around like what? Like at first it would be like the go look to check, and then holy shit, I'm completely alone. Fuck this.
Yeah, I've had those myself.
I've had that happen to me too. Either calling my name or saying sentences. I don't really remember most of the audio ones because it didn't really scare me as bad as the visual ones, but some I remember. One told me that it loved me.
That's just kind of, that is so creepy. Just a sudden random, I love you. I don't like you.
Could you not?
Exactly. I'm trying to go to sleep. Please just leave me alone. But I would hear people also call my name, and it sounded like they were saying it from afar, like they were yelling it. But other times it felt like it was also close at the same exact time. And it would confuse me. They'd be like, who the hell is calling my name? Why is there a lady calling my name? What is she saying? Why is she saying this? And I would be super confused. I would get really irritated. And yeah, it didn't really affect me as badly as the visual ones. I had one hallucination that I actually felt. And it scared the living fuck out of me.
I bet. Like, I don't think I've ever had a hallucination I felt. Now I'm going to have to sit there and think about it, and I'd go, maybe I blocked it one out. I don't know. Because, I mean, no! God, no!
It was very creepy because I was looking down. I was washing my hands. I was in the bathroom, and I was looking down. I wasn't looking in the mirror, and I felt someone put their hand on my shoulder. And I whipped around real quickly, and there was no one behind me. And I leave the bathroom. I'm looking around. There's no one around me. I'm like, okay, no, thank you. I turned off the light. I closed the door, and I left the bathroom, and I refused to go back in it until I calmed down.
The closest I can remember of something like that was actually super comforting for me. My grandfather had passed away just a few months earlier. He happened to pass away on my first day of finals my junior year, just going into summer. So, yeah. The timing couldn't have been better. But, you know, it is what it is. But it was around Thanksgiving time, and he was the first person I ever saw that had a can crusher. You know, mounted outside up on this little post right next to the recycle can. So you put the can in, put a dent in it, pull the lever down, and it, you know, smashes it down. So I went out and I crushed the can and I threw it into the recycle can, and I felt his presence almost like he was hugging me and telling me goodbye. I went into the house just sobbing. I mean, it was just, but it was like, it was good sobs. It was, you know, the sadness that he is gone, but it was like he came to say bye, which of course, awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Oh, May said, if anyone could understand the brain doing anything it does, none of us would have anxiety. We need a scientist to listen to this podcast. If I could go back in time, I would do all the things.
If I could turn back time. I'm sorry. I couldn't.
If I could find a way. Sorry.
We're just sharing the moment here.
Totally fine.
I hope somebody groaned over that. But no, a hand on the shoulder? Nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
It scared the living shit out of me. And
I've always wondered what living shit would look like.
Me too!
I wonder if it would speak English.
Maybe.
It'd probably be like, I've seen things, man!
You don't know what I've been through, dude.
You know, it would probably just say, howdy ho.
Howdy ho! I'm Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo! I'm sorry, in the chat, Devern, he's like, I can draw that. I can draw living shit if you want. How much you want for it, E?
Oh my goodness.
Commissioned.
Yeah, we're gonna start taking commissions at the chat over living shit now. My God, the things that pop up on this damn podcast, I swear to God.
My God, that just reminds me of something one of my friends did. One time we shared a love of South Park. And as a haha prank Christmas gift one year, they glued a cotton ball on top of a miniature Baby Ruth and put two googly eyes on it, and they made me Don Hanky.
Aw. And now cat skin babies.
Oh, God.
Okay, yes. So see, there's an episode that you're going to want to listen to. God, which episode was that? I think they actually used their name. It was the episode
with Mark.
Yeah, it was Mark. It's the only one with Mark in it. Absolutely fantastic episode, and we went off on the funniest damn tangent because they're transitioning from female to male. Hopefully, Mark's listening. They're recovering from surgery, a good one, not a bad one, a good one. And we're talking about how when they were still female, they had a couple of miscarriages. And that was one of the things that he was going to miss out on, is possibly having a biological kid. And I was like, hey, I remember reading an article a while back that they were actually making actual like sperm out of skin cells. And that's where and it's true. It's absolutely true that they're at that. Literally. They're not very.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, they're not very functional right now, but they're getting better and better as they go. And that's where the whole joke about skin babies comes from, because it's like, yeah, Mark, you might actually, in your lifetime, be able to have a biological kid as the father using your own skin.
That would be so cool, man.
Wouldn't it?
That would be so great.
But then there's also the things of the chances of abuse of that are just kind of terrifying in their own way, too.
That too.
Whose skin was that? Nobody. It's kind of weird that you went to Germany to get skin cells. Whose skin cells are those? Mine?
You don't need to know.
Yeah.
I just cleaned out the HEPA filter.
Yeah, I need to make a product where the mask, it's a skin baby filtration system. But yeah, so yeah, we go on tangents on this podcast. So.
Okay.
Hey, we're talking about some pretty heavy stuff. Sometimes we need to laugh for a little bit.
True. Very true.
I mean, we were just talking about having a disembodied arm, talking about the hand on the shoulder, which reminded me that the arm thing, that for me, it's like a head, okay, creepy. Torso, okay, creepy. Limbs, no. And there's one story that I read. It's called The Finger. It's a short story by Stephen King. It's maybe 8 to 10 pages long. It's a very short story. But it is the only story that I've ever read that has creeped the living shit out of me. And to this day, I cannot... I'll read it again. Because I hate it. Because it's so good. Basically, this guy's in an apartment, and he has like a girlfriend or a wife or something. But only when he's alone, he starts hearing this little ticking sound like a mouse in the bathroom sink. And he goes and looks, and there's a finger coming out of the drain, and it's exploring around the drain and the sink. And every time he goes to check it, it's a little bit longer and has an extra knuckle or two. So it's like, it eventually gets to this point where it's reaching out of the bathroom towards him, and it just has like dozens and dozens of knuckles, and it's just a super long finger. And every time, like, he'll be brushing his teeth, and his like girlfriend or wife will be there, and he knows it's in the drain, but it won't show itself. Just no, just no.
That bastard.
God
No,
damn
I
it,
would,
Vern.
I would hate that. I would. What?
You want to read it, Bexy, or you want me to?
Okay, I'm gonna start here. Where at first Devern says, that sounds like art. I need to draw half of these hallucinations. Kat says, more living shit references. Devern says, shit is alive and its soul escapes if and only if it is steaming. Did that work for you, Kat? LMAO.
So the steam, it's not really steam, it's the soul of the things that you've consumed escaping.
Oh.
So yeah, you also talked about, because like we've talked about, you know, how you have anxiety, MDD, hallucinations, the workaholic, alcoholic dad, and there was one more topic. Are you ready to broach this one, or you want to keep doing the hallucinations? Where do you want to go? And you don't have to do that last one if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you.
I know. I think I will, but I'll explain a little bit more the things that were going down.
Oh, good. The backstory.
Yes, we
Yeah.
like backstory.
We do like backstories.
So, like I said, it started at 12 and it progressively just got worse. And I was hospitalized the first time. Then I learned that Dad had a stroke, and I blamed it on myself, even though it was his job that worked me to the bone. The people in there, they were so nice. When I was leaving, they told me, don't ever come back here ever again. I was like, I won't. I lied, and I was hospitalized 3 more times.
Hey, been there, done that. I even have I had a 5150. So yeah, they're talking about giving you one. I'm like, it's not the end of the world. I had one. I mean,
I'm the one that freaked out about it, though.
Well, is that my speaker decided to give out on me?
Oh, sorry, mom was the one that scared me on that, though. So.
Yeah, it was like 7 years. You can't own a firearm. Okay, it was a knife I was trying to kill myself with. Am I not allowed to go to Sizzler anymore for 7 years? I did find it interesting the first time I went into a mental health facility. The first thing that they did was make me take out my shoelaces.
Really?
Yeah, because you could wrap them around your neck or someone else's neck. Yeah.
Yeah, they did the same thing for me, and they checked if I had hurt myself. By that time, I didn't yet. But things started progressively getting worse, you know. The anxiety, the MDD, the hallucinations, I think it was all amplified by the stress of all those things combined.
Plus you're non-confrontational, altruistic, can't disappoint anybody. I mean, like, seriously, you put so much pressure on yourself. It reminds me of my teenage years to an extent. Yeah. Like, I feel your pain. I do. Like, I seriously do. which is why I kind of laugh about it, because I'm trying to cope with my own when I get back in that moment. I think you get it.
I think I do too. I'm pretty sure I do.
I mean, you have a really dark sense of humor for a reason.
That's true. That's also very true. I do love my dark jokes.
Like, I wish that my lawn was emo. That way it would cut itself.
I love those.
So bad.
I love those jokes.
So
I know,
bad.
They're terrible, but they're so good.
Yep. And if I offended anybody with that, I'm sorry, but if you have never been in that super dark, twisted place, especially get to the point of suicidal, the dark humor, you may not get it. You just might not get it. It's not necessarily even like a coping mechanism, although it can help with coping. It's taking something that's difficult to talk about and making it so where you can. It's a healing thing. So yeah, with those really dark jokes, like, I mean, my son was diagnosed with an illness at the time that would have been terminal, but he's going to be fine now. We had someone else come on whose son had a brain tumor, and we're not sure that he got a good prognosis after treatment. But yeah, you have that kind of stuff. You have a dark sense of humor. It's just comes with the package. It's like, here's your depression, here's your suicidal thoughts, and here's your fucked up sense of humor.
And here's everything else that's coming with it.
Including being judged.
Prepared. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So badly did people judge me for having depression and anxiety and hallucinating. I've got older siblings, and my older brother straight up said that I was just doing it for attention. And I hate attention. I don't like drawing attention to myself. I want to be as not noticed as possible. So him saying that hurt. I had a doctor say that I was too smart to be hallucinating.
What does that even mean?
I don't even know.
I mean, no.
I don't even know, but it was the first time I had been hospitalized, and it was a crisis counselor.
I mean, that sounds a lot... that made as much sense to me as, that's too many hot dogs for swim. What?
It doesn't coordinate with each other at all, but thanks for your advice, crisis counselor.
I'm going to have to look into that more. I actually have family members that are also, like, the whole PhDs in psychology. I'll have to ask, like, is that really a thing, or was that doctor just off his rocker? Because some therapists, they need more therapy than I do. and I need therapy. Yeah, even Kat was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was incredibly stupid.
You're too smart to feel pain.
I'm too smart to be seeing things. You got your grades good? No, that's impossible. You can't be feeling this way. And he telling my mom that, and she telling me what he said. It hurt. It hurt incredibly, because it's like, okay, you think I'm lying. Why the hell would I lie about something that I'm probably going to have to go on medication for?
Why?
For what?
Why would I be lying about something that's going to shorten my life expectancy just from the pure stress?
Exactly. You really, really think that I would make my life feel endangered just because I want some attention?
Like, have you met me?
Clearly not.
I understand I hide in the bedroom a lot. You may have forgotten about me, but that should be a sign.
guys don't even see me that often. I only come out once a week.
I come out, I dump the bucket in the toilet, and I leave. No, just kidding. Just.
I only come out for food, damn it. But yeah, that I was just like, huh? Like, what? It felt incredibly hurtful because it was a crisis counselor. I was supposed to go to him to talk about my issues, and he says, I clearly don't have one of those issues because I'm too smart.
I just see Ron Burgundy. I don't believe you. Just.
Basically, that's basically what he said.
Yeah, my crisis counselor actually tried to convince me that Agenda 21 was real. And I was like, what? I mean, you talk about some conspiracy theory shit. If you ever get curious about a conspiracy theory rabbit hole, check out Agenda 21. It's supposed to happen this year. The 21 references 2021. It is insane. It is absolutely insane. Just remember, it's all bullshit, but it's convincing bullshit if you start to accept even a little bit.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. FEMA death camps. The Federal Emergency Relief Group supposedly has death camps. That just... Really? I mean, really? I mean, I understand that PETA... It's like, I understand that PETA really does the opposite of what they claim that they do. I get that. But this is a federal agency that has public oversight. Really? Feel like Kyle on the Mystery of the Urinal Deuce episode of South Park. Really? Yeah. Anyway, so going back to your story and the depression and everything else, you're too smart to hallucinate. Whatever the fuck that means.
The mental gymnastics, man. They're doing too many flips, I can't keep up.
Right? It's like, I love it when I run into people that do the mental gymnastics to like the Olympian level. It's like, it is so obvious that you're twisting everything around in your head because it really doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, May just said it's now Agenda 30. Okay, I wouldn't doubt it. You know why it's probably Agenda 30? Trump. It's Trump's fault. He ruined Agenda 21. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Quote unquote, too smart to be seeing things. I remember, too, it was actually the first person I opened up to about my depression was my cousin. She was going through the exact same thing, except she was already hurting herself. And I already had the thoughts about hurting myself before, but knowing that she was dealing with that too made me feel less alone. I ended up taking a knife and trying to cut my leg. It wasn't deep at all. It didn't even bleed. I just kind of cleaned the knife and put it back. But the self-harm urges gradually got stronger, and I turned to something else to harm myself, scissors. The second time, no one knew. The third time, I ended up passing out and throwing up because I guess I did too deep or something. And that's how my mom and my family found out that I was hurting myself. And my mom was not happy at all. She told me, "You've got nothing to be sad about. Your life isn't that bad." And I know it's not. And that's the whole entire reason why being depressed made me feel guilty. Because it's like, I gotta...
It became a self-feeding...
life.
It became like a feedback loop. It just kept feeding into each other. most likely, or to itself. My life's too good to be feeling this bad. Now I feel even worse because my life is too good for feeling this bad. And now I feel even worse because continue ad nauseum.
Exactly. And all it really did was make me go even more into self-harm. I'm not... Oh, I think that was the feedback. Sorry.
It's okay. I was about to say, if
May is pissed.
we could hear her, May is screaming, no, no.
Yeah, she's pissed, I think.
Yes. This is...
So be mad, May.
Not at you. She's not mad at you. She's mad at the people that are trying to invalidate how you're feeling. They're trying to invalidate your pain. And these are people that you're supposed to trust.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask, I mean, it's a little off the topic, a little bit, kind of, because we're going to today. How is your mom now as far as supporting you in all this? Because she seems like she's pretty awesome. Like,
she's very supportive now.
So she did a 180.
Oh, yeah. She did a huge 180 from completely denying that I had a problem to seeing that problem straight up and being like, okay, yeah, we need to take care of this. And throughout all of it, I lost her trust a couple times because of the self-harm. But she was a lot more supportive than I thought. She would talk me down from the episodes. And when I call them episodes, I don't mean like a depressive episode. I mean breaking down, like there's too much pain from the depression and the anxiety. I would just cry and cry and cry for hours, just wanting to die. And she would sit there with me and she'd be like, it's okay, you know, you're fine. You're all right. You're going to be okay. I'm here with you. I'm here with you. And she would calm me down.
I always called that the lid blown off the pressure cooker. Because that's how it felt for me. Because it was just building pressure, building pressure, building pressure. And something eventually gave. And, yeah. Sobbing mess for no apparent reason. Could have been having a great day, and then all of a sudden it just burst.
Exactly.
Those are the worst. Especially when you're like sobbing and you're like, I was having a great day.
Yes. So much that, like, I was perfectly fine. I don't even know why I'm crying.
Oh, my heart.
It happened, and I'm just sobbing, like, I don't want to feel this way, and I'm going to be brutally honest. When I'm in that funk, I will straight up tell you I want to stop breathing or I want to die. I won't hide it, nothing. I will straight up tell you I want to die. And the bluntness hurts my mom a lot, obviously, because I highly doubt she likes listening to her child saying that they want to die. But she would still be very supportive. She would try to just talk me down, be like, you're okay, you'll be fine. And when I had that happen to me, she would make sure that I slept close to her just to make sure that I would be safe, that I wouldn't do something stupid in the middle of the night.
Sounds like she became a mama bear.
Oh, yeah. She became, like, my number one supporter.
That's awesome.
And,
That is awesome.
It doesn't sound like she's ever been suicidal, because sometimes when you're feeling suicidal, being told, you're okay, it's going to be okay, it's like, no, I don't want to hear this. You're making it worse. It's like...
I don't feel okay right now.
It's like the Family Guy one about when Peter pooped off of the overpass and it hit Lois's car, and she used the windshield wipers, and Stewie was just traumatized. You're making it worse! You're making it worse! The intent is to clean it. It's just, no. But you know what? At the same time, she is trying. She is trying her best, and I have to give her credit for that.
Exactly.
Even if she doesn't understand, she is trying.
Exactly. She's the entire reason why I ended up getting help in the first place. if it was my choice, I probably wouldn't have, and I probably wouldn't be here today. But she made sure that I was going to get the help that I needed. And we moved from psychiatrist, therapist, from therapy group to therapy group. And I was so sick and tired of it. I just felt like there was no hope. This wasn't helping. It's not going to help.
It's just
ever.
one of those things. It takes a lot of patience to find the right one. And it is daunting. Been there. Done that. Have the scar on my wrist to prove it. So yeah, no, I get that. I felt a number of times that I'm never going to find a therapist. I found a pretty good one. I'm pretty happy.
I found that two really good professionals that I work with. They're amazing. Nothing like my other doctors. They make me feel comfortable. They make sure that I'm well supported. And we just talk and talk and talk. We laugh. Like, we get off topic sometimes, like we're doing.
Right.
But for the most part, we would just talk about it. And my mom would always ask me after, like, oh, you talked with your therapist or psychiatrist about that, so, what did you guys talk about? And I would just briefly tell her, and she'd be like, okay, good. Do you feel like they're helping you? I'm like, yeah, I do. And, at first, when I first met them, I was in such a bad place. My episodes just started getting more frequent and even worse. I could barely go to school. I could only go in the morning, and the rest of the day would be absolutely terrible. I couldn't focus in class because I would be tearing up too bad. I would be super anxious about drawing attention to myself crying in class. That would make things worse, worrying. And I ended up being hospitalized again around this time. And I met them, and I didn't have much hope. I told her that. I told my psychiatrist that I don't have much hope. And she worried about me.
That was probably the best thing that you ever said to a therapist. You were bluntly honest, wide open. That was probably the best first step.
Yeah, but I openly told her I felt like there was no hope. And she openly told me that she worried about me around this time. And I was surprised. I was like, you worried about me? Really? Like, I mean that much to you?
You actually care? This isn't an act. You actually care.
I remember realizing that feeling for the first time.
And I would say that if I were in the same grade level as you and happened to be in the same class as you and you were having those kinds of problems in the afternoons, I would have tried to befriend you and tried to help. That's just who I am. I really would have. It's why I still want to help now. It's why I want to adopt you. Your mom's going to be mad, but I'll adopt her too. It's okay.
That's both of us. It's okay. Take the entire family.
Yep. If I have to, I have to. It's got to be done.
It's not so bad being adopted by E.
It's awful.
Nice.
I speak as his non-biological sister.
Yep, and she also speaks as someone that has passed more drinks and foods through her nose than anybody I know because of me.
Yes.
It's good to have someone that will make you laugh like that. It's nice to have.
It's an amazing feeling when I realized that these random people that I met off of Twitter actually cared. And I mean really and truly cared. And I have so many of them in my life now that do. But he was one of the first.
I called her my Willow because she would bend but not break. She could weather the storm. It would damage her, it would beat her, but she still stood in the end.
And there were with me, it slowly became, you know, I would get texts occasionally. I'm not worrying about you as much as I used to. You're doing better. And I would just be like, you worried? Really?
Yeah. Like
it blew my mind.
Like, I didn't worry about you, see, because I knew you were so excited about this podcast. But there was a part of me worrying about after the podcast. We need to stay in contact because, yes, I care. I genuinely care about you. I think that you should be walking on toilet paper because you're the shit. Just put it that way. I think that you are absolutely great.
Thank you.
And I mean, you have, like Bexy, you have a brilliant light. And we're going to get it to come through.
I'm hoping it will come through.
I mean, you already have some good therapists that are helping you. And even if we don't wind up having a friendship beyond this, it would suck. But as long as you're getting the care that you need, I could feel better about that myself. And I know this is not supposed to be about me, it's about you. But I care. I can't help it. You're just too awesome.
Thank you. It honestly surprises. I know, people care, but it surprises me. It's like, really?
Yeah, I've been there. Like, eventually.
Like go on.
Eventually, it comes through that yes, people genuinely care. There are people out there that want to see you be the best you that you can be, and they'll be there with you every step of the way.
And as I told Bexy too, I may not be in Texas, I may not be able to afford to get on a flight to come and kick her in the ass if she needs it, but I could sure as hell find someone on Craigslist I could pay to go and kick her in the ass. Because damn it, capitalism. So if she needs a swift kick, she'll get one. May not be from me directly, but there'll be a note coming from it that says, "This is from E." Boom!
I'm lucky he hasn't done that.
You haven't needed it.
I haven't. And May just said, your light already shines, C. You just need to open the shades.
With the heart.
I agree.
Aww.
I agree,
because you are freaking awesome, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're not used to this. I can tell. You're like,
No.
You're like, this is like getting an enema. I don't know if this is supposed to feel good or not.
What I usually do is I deflect. Again, I'm brutally honest. Someone can give me a compliment and I'll be like, no, but thank you. So it's hard accepting them and being like, okay, thank you, instead of just rushing to the side and be like, oh yeah, they're lying. But I'm taking it.
Yeah, actually, my wife, she was terrible at receiving compliments. And there were times I'd compliment her, and she'd get a look on my face. I'm like, it's a compliment. Take it. Just flat out like that. And then she'd be like, thank you. I'm like, you're welcome. Now, was that so bad? No. Okay. Now she's gotten to the point where she can actually take compliments.
When you're not used to hearing compliments, the first time you get genuine ones, you're just like, okay, this is really odd, and I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah, definitely.
May just dropped a great suggestion. Write it on your mirror. It freaking helps. As crazy as it seems, like, the what do they call it?
Self-affirmation.
They really do work. You do it often enough, they start to just sink in. It's kind of powerful. And I used to sit and make fun of, like, the movies and TV shows where you have that person sitting in the car and they're like, I am great. I am wonderful. I can do this. And then I needed it. And it worked. So I can't really make fun of it anymore. I can laugh at it in the situation if they put it in a humorous way because, yeah, it is kind of funny watching someone saying that stuff in the car or somewhere. But I also get it.
I
leaving
totally get it.
leaving notes for yourself. It works. You said you're journaling, right?
I've just got. Sometimes I do. It really largely depends on the motivation. If I don't have any, I don't write anything. If I have something, I'll write.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm terrible at journaling. The only time I ever did journaling regularly was when I was a pseudo guest at the Anxiety Treatment Center here in the Sacramento area. If I wasn't journaling, I was in trouble, and they would kick me out of the program. And damn it, I needed that program. But no, absolutely amazing program. If you ever watch the TV show Hoarders, there's a doctor that comes on occasionally named Dr. Robin Zazio. She's the founder of the Anxiety Treatment Center. I know her personally. She is amazing. She is absolutely amazing. She is one of the greatest human beings I have ever met.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and I had no idea she was a celebrity when I met her either. I just like, okay, she's a doctor. And then people are like, you ever watch her on Hoarders? I'm like, wait, what? Really? Her? I got to go to her house. I got to do equine therapy with her horses and her little mule, Princess Kate. Oh my God, it was so fun. I loved it so much. And it's like, there's a part of me that wishes I could have another crisis so I could go back. But I don't need to go back because it's bad reasons that you go, but I loved it so much.
Right.
Now, if I were to give you one piece of advice that I hope that you take to heart, the greatest piece of advice I could give you is one that my dad was given, which is when you have a bad day, don't really concentrate so much on the waves. Waves come and go. Pay attention to the tide. What is your overall progress over time like? So if you're having overall month by month, you're getting better, or week by week, you're getting better, don't let the bad days, they're going to take you down. But really reflect on the tide. Where's the tide? What's it doing? Waves come and go.
I'll try to keep that in mind. I'm not that good at remembering, but I'll try.
You'll be like,
I'll give it a try.
there was something he said. I don't know. He said a lot of shit.
Like, I'm trying to think back, but
I think it had to do with.
And then watch.
I think it had to do with water. Stay hydrated. I don't know.
Did he tell me to go swimming?
Honestly,
like a week later, I'll remember what he said.
Yeah, I love walking when I'm stressed, like you do. It's, oh my God, walking is so good for clearing the mind. But nothing affects me better than swimming. Like, I love to swim. And it's like a lot of people are surface swimmers. No, I'm a deep underwater swimmer. I love being down at the bottom of the pool, just moving around until my breath gives up, to pop up, get the breath again, go right back down to the bottom again. I love it. I just love that feeling of being that surrounded in that like weightlessness. And then I come out of that, and it's so freaking cathartic. Plus, I also get that huge rush, like the runner's high, because of all the physical, all the endorphins from all the physical activity of swimming. God damn it, Kat.
But
it was about me talking about water. He's like, and he said shit a lot.
Yeah. When you were saying it was something he said. He says a lot of shit.
And he says shit a lot. Oh God, we had shit. We had steaming shit, living shit. Jesus.
Oh.
We just haven't had holy shit until just now. So, how are you with the self-hurting now?
I'm still addicted. I'll just say that right away, because whenever I do get upset, I spiral very easily. That's something I learned. And when that happens, self-harm is usually the first thing that pops into my mind. The different methods, it's not only cutting, it could be burning, hitting my head against the wall, scratching myself with pencils, things like that.
I slammed my head against the wall a few times.
Distract myself from the pain, maybe pull my hair. I can't scratch myself because due to my anxiety, I've chewed my nails down to nothing.
Like to the cuticle?
They're almost there. I chew them enough to make them bleed and make them sore.
Oh.
So I guess you can consider that harming myself, because I do purposely make myself bleed, and I do purposely bite the skin underneath the nail off.
Oh, like that little peeling edge?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's that I know exactly. It's like you're sitting there and go, get that little rim off. You're like, oh, that's satisfying. It goes too far down the fingertip. You're like, ow! God damn it. And then you get that dry flap that sits there forever. You're always playing with it, and it hurts, and it doesn't go away. Nope, never done that.
Cat says, ouchies. Really ouchies.
Yeah, no, I used to bite my nails, but my nails are so thick, it hurt my teeth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I have knives. My wife calls my nails knives because they're just so freaking strong and thick.
Wow.
Dagger nails. Yep. Tell you what, I'm great at back scratches.
Good at least. But the self-harm is definitely something I still struggle with. I counted once the amount of times I cut myself, and it was like 40 to 60 of them in one spot, close together, and I would make like an oval or a circle. And I'm not lying when I say I probably got hundreds upon hundreds, maybe even 1,000 scars on my right thigh because of how often I would do it and how many of them overlapped each other. I've got scars on my left arm, and I've got a couple very, very minimal scars on the left side. The right side is covered from my side, like my hip, down to like the middle of my thigh, covered in scars.
Wow. You know, damn it, what is the name of that artist? The song Scars to Your Beautiful. Please tell me you've heard that song.
Oh my god. Yes, I do.
That song.
I can't remember the last name.
That song was really popular on the radio, and I didn't really listen to it, but it was always playing. And then one day, "There's no better you than the you that you are" really hit me, and I went, I seriously need to listen to this song. I immediately Shazammed it, and then I played it with lyrics. Oh my god. Like, seriously? Great song. Please tell me you've seen the video.
I don't think I've seen the video yet, but I've listened to that song so many times.
Even better.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Check it out.
Oh, yeah. It is. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It is so good. And just the thought of, what you were just telling me, that song really kind of like, sorry for the pun, it sang to me that this is probably relatable for you.
Oh, yeah. It definitely was. And I still listen to that song for two reasons. One, I would listen to it when I was depressed, and it's a song that I really like now because I can relate. But also because I have an older sister, and me and her used to listen to that song together. And she's gone now, sadly.
Aww.
So that song's basically what I have of her. I'll go more into that in a bit because it's one of the things that I saw growing up. But she was. If you think I'm the light, you should have seen her. She was absolutely gorgeous, an extrovert, a photo god. She'd do her makeup and like a professional. And I would just look at her and be like, oh my God, you can do that in less than like 10 minutes? I can't even put on mascara right.
Hey, I tried eyeliner once, and I think I poked myself a couple times, and I was, nope, never again. And that was just to do, like, the Crow makeup for, like, the movie The Crow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was a god, and she was such a outgoing person. I guess I can explain this now because it will bleed into what I've seen, growing up. I've had many family members, family friends struggle with addiction. And as a little kid, I didn't really, know. I knew my father drank. I would see that, but I didn't know about much of anyone else's problems.
And also,
I had a cousin.
when you're a kid, you don't think much of it. You don't realize it's a problem. Same. I have a lot of alcoholics and other people with addiction in my family. And my family's huge, so when I say a lot...
My family's huge, too.
Oh, comparison. My dad has 9 brothers and sisters.
My mom
is the oldest of 13.
Oh my God. I'd say most of the family members come from my mom's side because her sister had so many kids.
All right. But yeah, so you're used to the large family too.
Yeah.
With large families comes large problems.
Yeah. Seriously though. Some family, hold on.
I was
like
gonna say though,
dad,
you may say that your sister is gorgeous, but you're cute as a freaking button. Like seriously.
You.
You're totes adorbs. There, see.
Aww.
I could speak the lingo.
How do you do, fellow children?
How do you do, fellow students?
How do you do, those Zoomers?
Oh, man. I'm sorry. You know what? Honestly, I am looking forward to when the Zoomers start doing advertisements because I find Zoomer humor fucking hilarious. It's so nonsensical.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's true.
Like,
I've got galleries filled with memes.
Like the one that I saw was like, it was a TikTok about Zoomers becoming, like, doing advertisements. And it shows the cat do the mop, 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 and a Subway sandwich floating by in the Subway logo. And it's all Subway, eat fresh. And I was dying. I was laughing so hard on that. And I show other people, like, I'm Gen X, and I show my dad, who's, he's a boomer. Literally. He's a baby boomer. And my dad, actually, he fucking loved it. He thought it was hilarious. But, like, so many other people in my family, like, in my generation, they're like, I don't get it. It's just like, that's the point! So I am really looking forward to when the Zoomer advertisements start coming. It's like, when airlines started advertising during COVID, like, we're dropping the prices really low, and you might die if you fly with us. I went, you just appealed to every millennial alive.
Exactly.
What, I can afford it and I might die? I'm in!
That's the best part.
And then everybody freaks out about it. It's like, okay, well, that's millennial humor. You gotta understand it.
I'll joke about that a lot, being like, dying? I can't wait till that happens. And some people are like...
Yeah, they get that look of just absolute cringe. And of course you're just going, that's what I was aiming for.
Like, they just kind of give you that look of, are you joking? And you're just like, just smiling, laughing at your own joke. Because...
was that a joke or was that serious? Yes.
Exactly.
That doesn't clarify anything. Yes.
Yes.
So your sister.
Yeah, so she was one of many in my life who were dealing with addiction. And she happened recently. I was in freshman year, so like 2, 3 years ago, probably like 2 years ago, and she had just started getting addicted. Her baby daddy was so cruel to her. He would tear her down, make her feel like nothing. Sometimes he'd lay his hands on her. Yeah, he was vicious, and he'd use their daughter against her, and she would just be crying. And where we live, it's not very easy for the dad getting full custody, but he would silence her with her kid.
California is very much against the dad.
Yeah. She was very scared still because of her addiction. She didn't want to lose her baby. And he just kind of made things worse and worse and worse until she had, this is a long story, by the way, because a lot happened during this time. She fell out a window, like our upstairs window, because she was hallucinating off of medicine they gave her for something else, and she could have died, but she only broke her hip, her tailbone, and a couple other things, and she had to get her surgery done, and she had to stay home, and so she couldn't really get any of her drugs of choice. Her drugs of choice was Xanax. She was addicted to Xanax, and at first I couldn't tell at all until Mom pointed it out to me. She would slump, she would sleep all day, she would have no energy to do anything sometimes, but other times she'd get super energetic and want to do everything. And
wow.
Yeah. She had recovered, and she had just gotten another car because she was terrible at driving, and she got in many accidents. She's a very unlucky person. But anyway, she told us it was the first time she left the house in 5 months. So we trusted her. We gave her the benefit of doubt. So she told us that she was going to a friend to smoke weed. And we're like, okay, that's fine.
That's not Go Xanax.
Ahead. Exactly. Go ahead. And she left, and that day, I think, I didn't really know what was going on. My mom and my older sister did. And she did message them at first, being like, hey, I'm okay, I'm fine. I lost my card, so I need to order another one. And we're like, okay, that's fine. But then she went quiet on us. She didn't text, and that was very much unlike her. Because no matter what, if her phone broke or if whatever happened, she would find a way to text my mom. But she didn't answer, and she sent videos of her daughter. She didn't open them, and so they had a feeling something was wrong. And they called her phone multiple times, and a guy answered. And when they asked, where is, I'll call her Kay, he hung up the phone and didn't answer. He turned off the phone.
Oh, hell
no. Yeah. And my mom and my sister were very worried at that point, but they waited. And the next day, they called a police department and asked, hey, how long do you have to wait to report someone missing? And they told them that if you feel like they're at risk as soon as they leave that door, like they leave the house, you can call.
I'm glad that they made that change. That was one of the better changes.
Yeah. So a police officer came over to our house, and he was very dismissive. He didn't help us at all. He didn't even put her in the system. He told my mom and my sister, oh, she's probably just trying to cool down. I bet she'll walk into the house in any second. And then he left. He didn't put her in the system.
It's like,
So she wasn't even up.
Like, you had a job to do.
Exactly. And he failed. And then, literally the day after that, no, that same day, I remember, because the police officer said he would call my sister back, my other older sister back. And she got a phone call, and so she stepped outside. And then I went outside, and she was crying. And I was confused. My mom went outside, and she came back inside hysterical. She was screaming, "My baby's dead, my baby's dead." I tried to give her a hug, pushed me away. She was so hysterical. She told me she couldn't remember anything. So she didn't even remember pushing me away. And I was panicking. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? She's dead? And I stepped outside, and my sister was still crying. I wanted to take the phone away from her and hear what the coroner had to say, but I was too afraid to tell her that I wanted to listen. And so I just kind of let it go. Hold on. That night was very hard. Me, Mom, and Dad couldn't sleep at all. We just kind of tossed and turned. They did. The guy that she was with said that he discovered that she wasn't breathing, so he tried CPR. But the liar. Yeah, he's a huge ass liar because let me tell you how much the pills that he gave her were fake pills. They were pressed. And all of the drugs that they had inside of that pill was heroin, ketamine, morphine, fentanyl, amphetamines, methamphetamine, opiate, and Benadryl.
Jesus.
4 of which were over the lethal limit.
Oh my God.
And our doctor said she died within 2 to 3 minutes.
Jesus.
And the guy lied and said, oh, she's my girlfriend. And he tried CPR, but they didn't have any signs of the CPR, and rigor mortis was already setting in by the time they got there. And so it was very crushing because she was the sibling close to my age. She was the only sibling that I could do things with, and she was gone now. And so it was shattering. For a while, her death didn't even come to mind, I guess, because I wasn't in such a good state mentally at the time. My brain just kind of pushed it away for the moment. And I couldn't deal with it. And so I pushed it away until like 8 months later. Her birthday was not like a couple weeks ago. She would turn 27. We went to San Diego for her birthday, and it was one of the best but worst times I've ever. It was tragic why we went there. And all because someone wanted to save some money on pills. Many people in the area knew my sister well. And they were pissed because she knew everyone. She was a social butterfly. She was the light of the party. Just a beautiful person altogether, very trusting. And that man took advantage of her trust and killed her. She had every intention on coming home because she wasn't dressed to party. She had pink bunny slippers on. She had her pajamas on. She had no makeup on. Her hair was a mess. She had every intention on coming home. And she didn't. But talking about her helps sometimes. It's crushing to learn that people could do that to another person. And you don't realize it can happen until it happens to someone you know.
I don't have the words.
I don't either.
I know, and
I
think
so
that is
sorry about this. That is horrible.
I think the saddest part was her daughter is so young. She's 3, going to 4.
She's not going to have any
She was
memories.
when her mom died. Thank God my sister loves taking pictures and photos. She has so many of them on her phone that her daughter watches. And she'll laugh and she'll smile. But it's painful knowing that someone could do that to someone so sweet. And now a lot of people want that guy dead. To the point where he had to go in hiding. He was so afraid. And as terrible as it sounds, I really wouldn't care if he died. He's an addict himself, and his veins were so messed up. We heard from the people that knew him that he had to do heroin in his eyes.
Jesus.
I know. And all I could really think about was, I hope he gets a bad patch. And I hope he overdoses, because he didn't only do it to my sister. He did it to multiple people. And the police didn't care. They could care less. As soon as they learned that she overdosed and that it was that, they stopped caring immediately. They found a little bag of cocaine in her wallet. My sister pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed for it to be tested. And when they did test it, it turned out it was ketamine. So, yeah. And we learned from people around that morning, the day that we learned that she had passed, that morning he was trying to get rid of pills. He was getting rid of them. And the police couldn't prove that he gave them to her, so they couldn't do anything about it.
That sucks so much.
Oh my God.
And
May was saying, it takes a lot to fathom any of this. I'm sorry this happened to your sister. I'm sorry you've had to go through this. I can't even imagine. I would love to hear a memory you have of your sister sometime.
Well, I've got a good one.
Hashtag fuck that guy.
I second that, May.
Exactly. Fuck that dude. Go crawl in a hole and die. I'm sorry, that's rude, but you took such a wonderful life, and
I mean, he's a murderer.
Exactly, and he's done it to multiple people, and the police don't give a fuck. And you know what's the worst thing? He has drugs on his Facebook page, he has guns, everything. And people will ask, hey, can I get some pills? What if that happens to them next? And the police won't do shit. He's just going to keep on killing and keep on killing.
I mean, when you have pills that are just a single pill's over the lethal limit, I mean, fuck.
One good memory. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just don't know how you're so strong to be dealing with this. I have lost sisters myself. I lost my sister's to illnesses. I've never had them ripped away from me by, a murderer. And oh my, if I were there, I would hug you so much if you'd allow that. Just because.
I would allow it.
Yeah, the only person that's not allowed to give me a hug is Bexy, because that's how I could keep her prisoner in California. She won't leave until she gets a hug.
That is true. I've said that many times. I'm not leaving California without a hug from my E. So he's like, okay, so I'm never going to hug you.
That way she'll never leave.
But a good memory I have with her was she wanted to take me out just to get out of the house. And we decided we were going to go shopping. Me and her snuck off to a jewelry store. And she said she wanted to get some money so she could buy her kids some things, you know? She didn't have a job at the time because of her accident. And yeah, so we were going there and I trusted her. Obviously, probably wasn't the smartest thing to do because she was still an addict at the time. But we went shopping and we stayed out for 3 hours. And 3 hours is a lot for me. I'm very easily drained when it comes to going out. So 3 hours was like, okay, I'm fucking done. And when we were driving down to Target, we turned on Stars to Your Beautiful. And we listened to that song, then we blasted it and we just listened to it together. And then we listened to a song called Good Girls Don't Cry by Fergie.
I know that song quite well.
Me too.
Out of all the songs that Fergie ever made, that's the one I like. I don't really like any of the other ones, but that one is an amazing song.
It's such a good song. And me and her listened to that. We both sang. And we just drove. I was tired, but I was happy that I got some time with her. And we just listened to our songs, and after 3 hours, we're like, okay, let's go home. She was like, keep going to the pawn shop a secret. I was like, okay. And I did keep it a secret until after she had passed away. My mom was like, what are they talking about? And obviously, she can't get in trouble right. Anymore. But I told her, and she was like, oh, okay. All right.
But hey, you know what?
But,
you have a great memory out of it, and that's what counts.
Yes. Another great memory, I was little. Like, I was a teeny tiny kid at the time. I was in her room, and for some reason, she had a bar of soap. And I was like, what does this taste like? She was like, I don't know, take it away. So I took a bite.
That's such an E thing to say.
Taste the soap.
I probably would have said that. I mean, my kids were convinced, until they were adults, that the little black stem at the end of a banana was poisonous. Apparently, I told them that. I don't remember it, but it sounds like something I would have said. And my son, in his 20s, went out to go get buffalo wings, and he wouldn't eat the end of the wing that had the tip. Apparently, I told him that was poisonous, too. I don't remember saying it, but it totally sounds like something I would have said. Yeah, he's been laughed at by his friends a couple times at my expense because of things I've told him when I don't remember it. But yeah, sorry. Great memories now.
Good to have a laugh, but yeah, she was so sweet, so caring, and like you said, that having her ripped away just so suddenly, like legit, I'd seen her only a day or two ago, and now she's gone. Like I said, I pushed it away for a while because I just couldn't deal with it, I guess. But recently, the grief has been coming more and more. It can be very, very hard, obviously.
So here's a book that we mention often on this podcast.
Yes.
The Grief Recovery Handbook. I think it's the 20th anniversary edition or 25th anniversary edition. Seriously, I cannot recommend it enough. It's not a very thick book. It's maybe 120 pages, something like that. But it helps with dealing with grief to no extent. Every time, and like I go through the grieving process for a lot of people that I've lost, and it gets to the point where after going through the process, it doesn't hurt anymore. All I remember are the good things, and I feel joy remembering them, and that's what the Grief Recovery Handbook can help. And yeah, sometimes it hurts. There are days that it'll hurt. Like if I hear "Don't Fear the Reaper" out of the blue, or "Cities on Flame" with Rock and Roll from Blue Oyster Cult, both of them, I'll get really sad because I miss my uncle so much. But
Right.
I don't break down and cry like I used to. So yeah, I definitely recommend that one. Like seriously, if nothing else, the Grief Recovery Handbook. It is unbelievable. It was a therapist that gave it to me. I paid like $5 for it. I mean, the book's not expensive, like at all.
No, I dropped a link for it in the chat again.
Yep, I got Bexy to do it. We started working through it together because you should have a partner to go through, but life got so busy that we couldn't finish together. But she went ahead and pushed through anyway. And she said, I mean, how's it helped you, Bexy?
It has been an amazing difference in my life. Just things I thought I have lost a lot of people in my life. I lost my dad when I was 7. I've lost 3 sisters. Recently I've lost my mom. And there's aunts and uncles in between all of that. And it's really been helpful to me to be able to work through everything I felt about, each instance in which each person in my life passed away. And it's just helped me work through all of my feelings about them and to realize that, there is no set time limit on grief. You're going to grieve for as long as you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be, a bad thing that you still have grief. And it's not bad if, one day you start to feel better. A lot of people,
they feel like they're like being disrespectful to the memory.
Yes,
not feeling
they
bad.
do. And I mean, even I had people criticize me because, I didn't show this constant state of, oh my God, I'm so upset with the last person that I lost, which is my mom, because I had these tools in my arsenal to help me deal with it and to be able to look back and say, okay, yeah, I had some really bad times and I miss my mom, but I remember all of the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And have to let and I have to let the bad stuff go because I survived through the bad.
And also, grief isn't necessarily triggered by just bad events.
No.
Good changes too, like a promotion, going from graduating high school could cause grief. It's a change in your daily routine, and you could wind up missing it, and you could grieve it. And when I was in the anxiety treatment center, someone actually brought this up too with the book, because again, 2 different therapists, 2 different locations, same book popped up, and one person was talking about how this one person they knew was like the happiest person they ever met, and they asked, what's the secret to your happiness? And they said, I grieve every morning. First thing I do.
Wow.
I've had grief hit me at the strangest times. After I lost my 3rd sister, this was a few years ago. I was in Ohio with her. I held her hand as she took her last breath. She passed from pancreatic cancer. And I had to hold everything together and take care of Adam, and I felt kind of odd that I cried and I showed emotion, but I didn't feel like I showed enough emotion. And then one day I was home alone in the kitchen and I broke down and I just sank to the floor, and I sat there for about an hour and a half and just cried and cried and cried. Because it never gets easier to get over the loss of someone that you love and that you care about. But, you know,
You can get better at dealing with it.
yes. It always hurts. But you can use the happy memories to kind of soothe over the hurt. And that's why, you know, hearing you talk about your sister, it's the reason why I'm sitting here with tears running down my face, because especially when you're talking about the memory of your sister and you in the car and blasting music. And I have one similar to that with my older sister. I was in high school, probably like a sophomore in high school. And I had spent the weekend with her, and it was Sunday night, and she was driving me back home, and she lived several towns away from where I lived with my mom at the time. And we're on this back country road, and the windows are down, and it's so nice out, and Bon Jovi's Bed of Roses came on the radio, and she cranked it up. We were driving in the middle of nowhere, singing at the top of our lungs, and it was just one of the best memories I have.
Windows down, music up. Best thing in the world.
Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah. Both of my little ones, they beg me all the time for it. And now that the warm weather's here tomorrow, so I can start doing it again. Go out in the evenings and windows down, music up, and yeah, I have a playlist where it alternates songs between what my daughter likes, what my son likes, and what I like, and it just plays through the three. And it's about 2 loops for each of us, 2 songs each, and then we're done with the drive. But love it. I love windows down, music up. Now, my uncle, one that was basically a second father to me, one of my better memories. It does have to deal with driving, and it does have to deal with windows and blasting, but the windows were up, the heater was on, it was summertime, and we were blasting to see who would give up first. And it was the drive from San Jose to Livermore. And yeah, we opened up those doors, and people were gagging that came by. we were blasting. But it was a great memory. I just told him that my fart smelled worse than his. He said, "There's no way." So we challenged each other, and yeah, we came to the conclusion we both stink.
That's a great memory. I wish I could give you a hug. You got through so much too.
I'm glad that you were willing to share that. Like, seriously.
Me too.
Yeah.
I had to fight to keep from crying. One of us hosts have to be able to stay able to talk. Bexy. But no, Bexy cries.
You know me. It's gonna hit my feels, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and your story definitely hit the feels. Lot of love in the chat room too. I mean, seriously, a lot of love.
Thank you.
DeVern just even said, "C is growing in this podcast. I can hear this." And you are officially the longest podcast we've had.
Yes, you are.
Really?
Yeah, we are quickly approaching 2.5 hours.
Oh my god.
And we have a 3-hour hard limit. We might actually hit the hard limit this time through.
Wow. I got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, when you said that, I mean, I've heard that almost every guest. I got a lot to talk about. I'm like, all right, let's do this. For a while there, the longest was like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and here you are, you're blowing them away. Because, I mean, it is still just so captivating and so visceral. And it's so real.
I was gonna say she's real, and that I would not be surprised if this episode gets a lot of downloads, and people are going to relate to this because it's so real.
And you've had a lot of different things to say for a lot. I mean, this episode, you're probably going to touch a lot of people in a lot of different ways, in a very good way. The depression, the anxiety, dealing with it at such a young age. Again, some of that stuff I relate to very strongly. The loss,
self-harm.
The self-harm, the hallucinations. I mean, I have to ask, for the hallucinations, is it schizophrenia?
They told me, my first doctor at least told me it wasn't. Later, they said it may be PTSD. But then I was also later said that it was psychotic symptoms. But what they say right now, and I'm in a group specifically for the hallucinations. That's where I got my therapist and psychiatrist from. But they called it first episode psychosis. It's not really a diagnosis, but it's what they call when someone goes through their first psychotic episode. And that contains a lot, because it's not only the hallucinations that come with it, it's also what they call sticky thoughts. Basically, it's where you kind of lose touch with reality. Multiple times, I would throw myself into a paranoid fit because I would be convinced that something that was going on wasn't going on. For example, I thought, if this is a fear of mine, and I was really convinced that there was a bug that crawled into my brain and was eating my brain. And I would be so scared every time I got little headaches. I was like, okay, it's eating my brain. I'm going to be dead within a year. This is it. I'm going to be dead. And there's something in my head, and it's eating my brain. And I didn't tell anyone about that because I didn't want to sound crazy. There was
It doesn't sound crazy. It sounds terrifying. It sounds...
Yes, it does sound terrifying.
Like a very real fear. Brain-eating parasites are terrifying. I mean, they do exist. They are terrifying.
Exactly. And so
Prions are terrifying.
Yes.
Prions scare me more than anything on this planet.
Prions.
So prions are like mad cow disease is a prion. It's a protein that folded wrong and replicates. It's not actually alive. It is immune to all medical treatment. It can be denatured in water, of all things, but it can also survive an entire freaking sterilization process at a hospital facility.
Oh my God.
It goes through the eye. It goes through the nerves. So typically eyeballs, like eye surgery, if there's any prions, it'll go into the eyes. It'll travel straight to your brain. And it's called spongiform encephalopathy. Yeah. Basically, it turns your brain into a sponge with so many holes. And it could lay dormant for decades. But once you get a prion, you're guaranteed to die. It is a death sentence. There's no cure.
Wow.
And in humans, it's called, I think it was Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease or Jakob-Creutzfeldt's disease. It's one of those two.
Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease.
Yeah, CJD. Yeah. It's basically, it's almost identical to mad cow disease. It's just where the prion's located. Is it a cow or a human? They are freaking terrifying.
It sounds terrifying.
Meanwhile, I had LASIK surgery, so... Man, I hope that stuff was clean.
Yeah.
But here's the way that, and I will tell you this right now. It used to be that hospitals would still clean the tools that had CJD, but then they would send it off to a lab to be reprocessed. Now, they still clean it. They have to, because blood, there's human debris on it, basically.
Right.
It could be blood, bone, whatever. But they have to clean that off so it's at least clean and not shedding shit when it's being transported. But then it gets incinerated. They're not even messing around. They just immediately, it's like, all right, incinerate. We clean it and then we incinerate it.
I mean, that's
because
fair
it
enough.
is just, yeah, they do not fuck around with prions.
Yeah.
My cat says, "Oh my gosh, that's freaking scary. My dad is going to have a second cataract surgery next month."
Again, because of the safety that's required, like even if they even slightly suspect a patient has CJD, they will go ahead and send off a sample for testing, but they will still incinerate the tools regardless.
Wow.
Because it's just not worth risking it.
Right. It's some good safety.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad they don't fuck with that.
Yeah, that's...
Sure, a little soapy water, it denurtures it. It basically dissolves it. It goes away. There's never, ever been any cases of a prion coming from hospital wastewater or from the incinerator facilities wastewater or even a dump where they used to just dump the stuff. Wow. But yeah, it has to come from basically directly from one patient to a surface directly into the next patient.
Wow.
And because it's a protein, it could survive for years on surfaces. Even bleach doesn't get rid of it. Yeah, they're terrifying.
Now I've got something else to worry
You don't really need to worry about I mean, you talk about rare. You are more likely to be struck by lightning while being attacked by a great white shark and winning the lottery all at the same exact time than you are to get CJD.
Because I can only imagine how scary and how possibly painful that would be.
I don't know that it's even painful. You don't have any nerves in your brain.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have nerves, but no pain-sensing nerves.
Right.
You just start losing your shit slowly but surely, and it just depends on what centers of the brain the prions happen to be. That's why when they see a cow that's acting kind of sick, they incinerate it. They don't even fuck around. They'll send a sample of the brain to a lab to verify, but they still incinerate the cow. No fucking with it. We do not want that.
That's fair enough.
I mean, the level of safety we have around prions is, you talk about paranoid level of safety on steroids. That is how paranoid we are about prions in the United States and pretty much the whole Western world.
But at least we're making sure that we're staying safe.
Oh, May, I know all about that. She's all, trypophobics, do not Google this disease. It's about how it's a fear of basically whole patterns, like you typically in flesh.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, the DSM doesn't recognize it as an actual phobia, but you should feel uncomfortable about seeing unnatural looking flesh. It's just,
yes,
duh. You're not going to sit there and go, oh, hey, that looks pretty cool. Can I rub it across my face? No. You're like, no. Dude, stay about 10 feet back, maybe more.
Yeah, you want to know what? There are weirder things that I don't know why kind of freak me out, but they do, like hyperdontia. Excess teeth in your mouth. I do not recommend Googling images of that.
I don't think I will. I'm going to take your warning.
You know I'm going to. I just have that curiosity. Everything that people say, don't do this, or don't look at this, I'm looking. I'm sorry, I am. It's just, I have insatiable curiosity.
That's what happens when you tell someone not to do something.
That's also a part of it, too. Except that if you said, don't jump off that bridge, I don't think I will. I'm good. However, I have rappelled off of bridges. That's fun.
Oh.
Wow, yeah. No, this has been a hell of an episode. I knew it was going to be great. I didn't know it was going to be this great. See,
like you said before, I hope it does reach people, because something that I want to do that you said that you like to do is help people. That's what I want to do. I want to try to make sure that people say, hey, I'm not alone with this or that. Like you said, I just want to help people. If it makes me feel less alone, I'm happy for that. I just want to help as many people as I possibly can.
Exactly. That's why I actually am licensed as a sterile processing technician. That way I could go work in a hospital doing sterile processing. It's why I know about prions. Well, actually, I know about prions because of this game called Plague Inc. It is... You know it.
I do.
Yeah. I still want... God, I just totally blanked on the name of the parasite that they have in the game. It's a theoretical one. It's the little brain one that can either kill you or enslave you, so you worship it. They have a plushie. I want it. Of that thing. They have plushies, yes, of their diseases. I'm like, I want that one because it's adorably deadly. But no, it was actually Plague Inc. is where I first learned about prions, and then I got really taught and railed in, really drilled into me about prions because of sterile processing. Because again, there was an entire chapter dedicated to just prions. It's like we dedicated a chapter on bacteria, a chapter on viruses. We combined fungus and parasites, and there was another. There was another one that's along in those ranges, like a paramecium kind of thing, but that's not the right word. Malaria happens to be one of these. It's actually kind of a parasite. And then, yeah, you would think that was something else. No, it's like a parasite.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Right? And then there's that one chapter just on prions. It wasn't a huge chapter, but it was the only one that had this. This is the one thing. There's not a variety. It's just this one thing, and we are going to talk about it until you understand you don't fuck with prions.
Good lesson. Very good lesson.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and honestly, that I thought it was going to be a cakewalk getting that certification. It was not easy. It was amazing just how much I had to learn. You had to learn basic of microbiology. You had to learn the basic of the cycle of infection. You had to learn the basics of immunology. You had to learn the basics of all these different things. Because you, as a sterile processing technician, you impact all of this. If you do a bad job, well, guess what? You now are causing an outbreak. Yeah, so... and I was that exact hyper sensitive. I examined everything, fine tooth comb. If I had a magnifying glass with me that I could use, I would use it and inspect every tool before I put it in the tray. Make sure that I see nothing before it goes into the sterilizer. Because if you have any debris and you go ahead and sterilize it, you now have sterile debris, but what's underneath the debris is not sterile. So if you're doing a surgery and the debris falls off, well, you just infected a patient.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's the level of cleanliness that they aim for, is to where you look and underneath that a magnifying glass, you see nothing. And everything gets examined like that. Everything. If they're doing their jobs right. Because if they're not, they're gone. And the accountability that they hammer into you is unreal. I mean, you snitch, or you could lose your job and go to jail. Because you saw something, you didn't report it. So you freaking snitch if you see something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
seems like a good idea.
But then when you think about it, it's because it's all about safety. It's about patient safety. It's about lives. So that's why I went ahead and did it, because I was able to impact lives. Every single tray that I put through that sterilizer after I had examined it and everything and washed it and everything else, that was me protecting someone. And that felt really good. And now I have this podcast, and this feels really good. I'm helping people. So yeah, get yourself a free Spreaker account. Come in and join us in the chat.
I do have a Spreaker account, actually.
Nice. And I have decided I am going to just start manually accepting people on our website if they register for a user account, because I can't get the automated system to work right, and I'm just going to give up on it for the time being. It's not like there's a ton of people trying to break our doors down to get in. And so that way I can get the forums up, and I can always circle back and troubleshoot it later. So yeah, that's happening. And you were literally the first person to try signing up an account. Like I said, I saw my mail account that I never use have messages. I'm like, what? And I go and look. I'm like, hey, I bet you that's next week's guest. Just
really
because
was.
the names that were so similar.
Because it was me. I messed up once, and I was like, oh my god. And then I put it in again, and it didn't work. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
These people probably feel like I'm so stupid.
No, you didn't mess up. The management system is messed up. It's not you. It's yeah. It's something I'm working on. But anyway, I think that we're at a pretty good stopping point. How about you?
I think so too. I'd say I've got almost everything that I wrote down.
Well, we have 14 minutes left if you want to shoot anything else out.
Okay, well, I guess I'll go with mental health things that I watched growing up and some that are still around. Like you already know, my father was an alcoholic and a workaholic.
Right.
My mom was very stress manager. I had a cousin, and this was when I was really young. We weren't even at our house, but we had a cousin break into our house to steal our jewelry to pawn off for money for drugs. And he stole my grandma's things and pawned them off. He took my oldest sister's memories and pawned those off too. And I had an uncle who drank himself to death. He just kept on drinking, and his liver failed on him, and we went to go see him in the hospital. His skin was yellow. He looked not like himself, like a skeleton, and he ended up passing away because of that. We have a family friend right now who is dying of alcoholism and another issue that they're looking into. But there's a lot of people. My sister, my older brother, I don't know if he's still addicted, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was. And these people don't really help themselves. I get addictions, a serious problem, but a lot of these people just didn't want to get help.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Being powerless.
Yeah. And then I learned about something from my brother. He is a cocaine addict. And moved from where we live to try to get away from his problem. But in the end, he ended up bringing them with him, so he's still addicted. His liver is terrible because he's also an alcoholic. He did some really mean things to my deceased sister before she died that he regrets deeply now. And he drinks it away. And he was using needles too, so he got hepatitis C that also ruined his liver. So he could be dying anytime, I guess. So we would probably be losing him too. My brother-in-law, he was an alcoholic, and he was a very mean one. He stopped drinking alcohol now because of his relationship with my sister-in-law and his kids, but he was very mean, just very mean. I was 15 and he was drunk off his ass, and he told me, and I was depressed at the time, very depressed at the time, that I had nothing to give. And even though that was like 2-3 years ago, it's still stuck in my mind. It didn't go away. Oh, dog.
When I was in grade school, my dad sat me down and said, I get along fine with your sister, I get along fine with your mom. What's wrong with you that I can't get along with you? That stuck into my 30s until I finally addressed it head on with him. Wow. He apologized. He said he doesn't remember saying it. He said that he was messed up with drugs and alcohol pretty bad at the time. My dad now is basically he's one of my heroes. He was my best man in my first wedding. I wanted him to be my best man again, but my best friend was my best man. My son was right there, second in line. But yeah, no, things that can be stuck for a long time.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if it's coming from someone that's an addict, it's usually the addiction talking. It doesn't make the word sting any less, but at least it helps put it in perspective.
Right. And he was a very mean alcoholic. To my sister, he would always put her down. And then him saying that to me, it's like, wow. But got some of his shit together. Some of it. I don't remember when he did this, but he had stopped drinking, but popped some pills. And then he wonders why his relationship with my sister isn't great. But he's a very mean one. He's not mean anymore. He can be very nice, and he's very supportive of me and my struggles, but he was very mean. Like you said, most likely the addiction talking, but also, like you said, it doesn't stop the words from hurting.
Right.
Especially when he's one of the people I'm closer to. Me and him get along well because we're both gamers. We both love memes. We have a lot in common.
I'm a gamer. I love memes too.
Yep.
What's not to like about gaming and memes? Seriously.
Exactly. But yeah, that hurt, and he was just one of the many. I remember the year my sister died, the last year, the very beginning of the year. A family friend, he was like an uncle to me in a way. He ended up passing away from a heroin overdose.
Man.
He relapsed. Yeah, he relapsed, went to the dosage that he used before, and it was too much for him.
Yep. That was like Staley. God, I can't remember his other name. I think that was his last name. He was the singer from Alice in Chains. They were huge heroin addicts. Then they got sober, and then he decided to try it again. And same thing, he went to his old dose, but his body wasn't used to it anymore, and OD'd.
And it's so sad too because this sounds terrible, but he was very protective of us. If he was still alive, and he found out about what that guy did to Kay, my sister, he probably would have killed him. He probably would have killed him.
Well, I was going to say, have you ever been to Medicine Lake?
No.
So the road to Medicine Lake itself is kind of a creepy but cool lake because it gets really deep really fast. Like, you go 3 steps in from the shore and you're up to your neck. It is crazy steep.
Oh my God.
But along the drive, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of lava tubes. If stuff falls into a lava tube, it does not come back out. Just, a tangent. Has nothing to do with anything. No, don't actually kill anybody. Don't dispose their body in the lava tubes. But it had crossed my mind a few times. And actually, we even started talking about that with someone else whose daughter was raped by her own brother when her daughter was only like 3 or 5.
That's so...
Yeah, I had never seen our chat room so angry. And I saw them getting angry again over what happened with your sister. There was a lot of rage building up in there, and I'm so thankful that they didn't start planning like they did last time. I was like, no, guys, no, we really can't do this.
But yeah, that guy just... I've really... I've got a miniature baseball bat, I'm just so tempted. Like, if we ever go over to where he lived, and my mom wanted to put some flowers out there as memorials where she died, right inside of his house. So we would leave the flowers like across the street. But I said, let me bring my miniature baseball bat and I'll beat him up.
Get that nice little ping.
Beat the guy up. We don't have to kill him, just make him hurt.
Ugh, man. No, I can understand that. I mean, you had your sister ripped from you. The closest person to you ripped from you. It's like I say, it was bad enough that it's your sister. It's even worse that this is the person you were closest to. The person that sounds like who understood you best.
Yeah, and she
was able to take you out for 3 hours, and you had fun.
Exactly. She would also, like my mom, and talk me down whenever I was sad. She would be as supportive as she could be. She didn't understand, but she was very supportive. And for that, I'm thankful. But that guy, and the thing that pisses me off the most is the police officer's not listening, and the fact that he's done it to so many other people.
He's just going to do it again. I mean, if he hasn't learned by now, he's probably not going to.
Exactly. And one other person, he gave them pills, and they had to give him 2-3 times the amount of what's that drug called that stops an overdose?
Oh God, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's such a heroin problem in my hometown now, which makes me really sad, that the classrooms actually have that. And like officers carry it. I know what you're talking about.
Narcan.
That's it, Narcan. Is that it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they had to give him 2-3 times the normal amount because he had so much fentanyl and heroin in his system.
Jesus.
And someone else, they had bought pills off of the guy, but he had a tester at home. And so he tested them, and they came back positive for heroin and fentanyl.
And fentanyl is just so much more powerful than heroin. So much more powerful. Like, I've seen images of, here's a lethal dose of like cocaine, here's a lethal dose of heroin, here's a lethal dose of morphine, and here's this lethal dose of fentanyl, which is just like this itty bitty tiny little bit.
2 milligrams is all it takes to overdose.
That is crazy powerful.
I know. And
then to hear that like China has ships with tons coming over to the U.S., it's like, okay, that's enough to kill the entire population like twice over. That's crazy.
Yeah. People are greedy, and I don't like that they're willing to take lives just for some money.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. We have to admit there are some really awful parts of humanity, but then there's people like you. You're a light of humanity. But we do actually have to wrap it up now because we are out of time. So everybody, like the episode, give us a follow, get the Spreaker app, and so that way when we go live, you'll get notified. Again, thank you, C, for joining us. We have to have you back.
Yes.
We have to have you back.
I would definitely come back. I would love to.
Oh, we'd love to have you back.
Absolutely. So, everybody, we'll see you next week. I don't have enough time to go ahead and say, hey, who's our guest for next week? So you just got to follow the Facebook page and find out. Until then, I'm E.
And I'm Bexy.
And we'll see you next week. And we got a C in there. Awesome. See you next week.